You have to prepare now for what's coming. There is going to be starvation around the world. Now, here in the United States, I believe we are very lucky because we are going to have access to foods and other stuff, but they are going to become extremely expensive. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to fill you in on what I see coming in the next 6 months or so. It's going to get pretty bad, in my opinion. So make sure that you heed the warning, ladies and gentlemen, or at the very least, do your own research. Now, on this video, I'm going to go over 3 reasons why things are not going to get any better as far as prices for foods go and the availability in some countries. I'm also going to go over one of the 3 things that you can do, especially if you live in a small apartment, in order to become more reliant on yourself instead of the government or the supermarkets. And I'm also going to go over the markets for silver and gold as I record. So let's get started. Global aluminum market face severe crisis due to war tariffs and stock shortages. Everyone's been talking about gold, everyone's been talking about silver, the markets, what's it doing to oil, natural gas and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't know how important aluminum is in the production of a lot of the things that we depend on a regular basis. And just like everything else, the conflict in the Persian Gulf is draining the supply that we have and also restricting what we can produce as a world. A missile strike last month on the Emirates Global Aluminum's facility in the UAE may require up to a year to recover, according to company officials. So these things that get destroyed, you can't just rebuild them in a day or a month. It takes a very long time. This facility represents a significant portion of Gulf aluminum production capacity, which accounts for about 17% of the world's aluminum supply. Now listen to this, because we were already at a shortfall, but this is going to make it even worse. Registered inventory on the London Metal Exchange has shrunk to under 400,000 tons. And that sounds like a lot, but you have to divvy that up for the entire world. Of the remaining LME inventory, approximately 270,000 tons is considered to be Russian metal at the end of March, which means that that's going to be off the market to Western markets because of all of the sanctions that are going on. Idle smelter capacity in the UAE remains offline due to persistently high energy prices exacerbated by what's going on in the Middle East. Aluminum production through electrolysis is exceptionally energy intensive, with a typical smelter consuming as much power as a major city like Boston, making reactivation economically unviable under current conditions, industry experts state. So what's this saying is that we have the available industry in order to start making aluminum and make up that delta or that difference really quick. However, the price of aluminum is going to have to go up significantly before they fire up those facilities. With limited options for replacing lost Gulf production and existing trade policies like sanctions restricting alternative sources, Western manufacturers face extended supply constraints. Meaning what, ladies and gentlemen? Prices are going to go up. In the United States of America, at least, food is going to be available, but it's going to be extremely expensive compared to the now. The IEA chief warns that the Persian Gulf energy recovery could take up to 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. Up to 2 years in order for us to be able to restart those systems that have been knocked offline. The IEA's 2-year recovery warning paints a sobering picture of a global energy landscape altered by conflict. The assessment indicates that the world must prepare for a protracted period of elevated prices, supply insecurity, and economic strain, particularly for developing nations. Like I said, Western nations, and especially I believe that the United States, will be okay as far as the supply of goods. However, the elevated prices will persist. And ladies and gentlemen, prices usually, when they go up, they don't come back down to the previous levels. So this is going to be a fact of life going forward. Not sure if you've ever heard that we are 9 meals away from anarchy, and in most places I would say so. I did a video a long time ago, years ago, where I talked about that in New York City, there's only about 9 days of food in New York City. So if supplies stop coming in today, they have roughly 9 days of food. But what do people do when they know that there is an immediate crisis? And they go ahead and panic buy. So 9 days of food can very easily turn into a few hours worth of food, depending on how many people know that there's not going to be any more food coming in. This is so far 3 warnings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3rd warning that you need to get prepared as soon as possible and as best as possible. How many of you are heeding the warning? How many of you are already prepared? Leave it down in the comments. It may inspire someone that thinks that this is all fear-mongering. Anyways, we are not facing a simple price spike or a temporary shortage. What is unfolding is a deliberate man-made collapse of the global fertilizer supply chain, and its downstream effects will be catastrophic. It's a world-altering event that has locked in years of global energy scarcity. And that is a fact, no matter how you look at it, or no matter whether it's man-made, or no matter who started. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. In the end, will you have the calories that you require? What people aren't thinking about now are the secondary, tertiary, and 4th order effects of what this is going to cause. And we are starting to actually realize them now. But the food shortages and the elevated prices, and I mean really elevated prices, not gasoline going up by $1. I'm talking about gasoline going up to $10, $12 a gallon. This is the flash. The bang of empty supermarket shelves is still traveling toward us at the speed of sound. It's coming to a city near you. It will be sudden, severe shortage hitting supermarket shelves. The system has no slack. We live in a just-in-time supply system. As farmers face soaring costs for diesel and natural gas and fertilizer, of course, many are reducing planting or cutting back on fertilizer applications. And what's society going to do when this happens? Well, the most vulnerable in society, or those people that don't have the resources to feed themselves now, are going to become very angry and desperate. If you want a preview of the desperation to come, look no further than the recent political uproar over the restricting of soda pop purchases with SNAP entitlements. If people get that angry because they can't get soda pop with the entitlement of SNAP and welfare, imagine how angry they'll be when their SNAP entitlements don't buy them anything, or barely anything. This is a system already stretched to its breaking point, with over 42 million people on SNAP facing the loss of food aid due to political gridlock. And ladies and gentlemen, with the police state that has been built around us, it will be way too easy for the government to place them to quell the civil unrest that will be seen. And this all goes back to something I've talked to a lot in the past, and it's that we are in part of a cycle that is the cycle of crises and chaos. If you go back 60 years, which is the cycle of unrest, it's about a 60-year cycle. What was going on back in the mid-60s? Civil unrest, just like you're seeing now. Back then, they were lighting police stations on fire and just doing bad stuff altogether. And you can see that happening right now, although I do believe that it is still going to get worse than what we've seen thus far. Now, let's go ahead and take a quick look at one of the things that I do to ensure that I am fully prepared in my little 600 square foot apartment for at least 1 year. And the first thing that I'm going to cover is, and I'm going to try to include this toward the end of my next 2 or 3 videos. That way you can catch it at the end and consume that little bit of information instead of trying to consume it all at once in one long video. Today we're going to talk about food, ladies and gentlemen, because it is so simple to stock up on food. Now, for those of you that are new here, my apartment is about 600 square feet, and I've managed to put roughly 1 year's worth of food away that will last, some for years, some for decades. Now, let's take a look at some of the things that I've come up with. What you're looking at here is just my kitchen cupboard. And of course, I am only one plus Lulu. But my kitchen cupboard, ladies and gentlemen, just so you can see that you can store a lot of food just in a small space. There is about 1 month's worth of sustenance in what you see right there, as far as calories and fat goes, and a few minor carbohydrates in the form of like green beans and black beans and such. But I can survive off of what you see there for about a month. Would I like it? No, because I'd be eating a lot of sardines. However, start with your kitchen pantry or your kitchen cabinets. Put enough food in your kitchen cabinets or kitchen pantry to take you through about a full month. Now, I do have what I would call a small kitchen pantry, which is an extension to what you see right here, and will add to that month's worth of food that I have. But if all you have is your kitchen cabinets, fill them to the brim, ladies and gentlemen, with things that you already eat, things that you enjoy, and keep your kiddos in mind to make sure that they don't get food fatigue. Now, in addition to having your kitchen pantry or your kitchen cabinets full, remember your goal for your kitchen pantries and kitchen cabinet is at least 1 month's worth of sustenance. Now, only you can decide what 1 month is to you. But fill it up as best as you can, and you'll know that during any crises, you'll have at least a month's worth of food that you already consume anyways, which will give you time to figure out what you're going to do in case that crisis lasts more than a month. Now, you probably thought that the second kind of food that I would talk about putting away for long term would be dehydrated or freeze-dried foods. But no, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be getting stuff in bulk. What you see here is just some basic things that I've had put away actually since about 2020, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. What you see there is a couple of bags of sugar that I put in some vacuum seal bags. There's a couple of bags of rice. There are a few bags of beans, and these, when properly packaged and stored, will last you in excess of 25 years without going bad. So these are foods that are going to get you through, that are going to act as fillers. Sugar is very barterable. Beans and rice, when cooked together, actually create a very good protein that your body absorbs easily. And they are cheap. And believe it or not, they are still pretty inexpensive compared to the other types of food. So if you have more room in your apartment, go ahead and put away some long-term food storage in bulk containers. Instead of just using bags like you see that I have here, go ahead and use 5-gallon buckets. But I've had these things that you see here stored for about the last 6, almost 7 years, and they are still just fine. Nothing wrong with them whatsoever, and I am confident that they'll last another 20, 25 years if I don't consume it prior to then. So start off with your food pantry in your kitchen or your cabinets, then a kitchen pantry. Make sure you have at least a good month's worth of food, and then go ahead and put away as much as you want. But I would recommend at least an additional 6 months to a year's worth of food away in a bulk form, because it's a lot less expensive and it's things that are going to last a very long time. The drier that it is, the longer it will last if you properly package it. And I've got plenty of videos showing you how to properly package something for long term and different vehicles in which you can pack it. Like you can use 2-liter soda bottles to pack legumes, to pack rice, throw a little oxygen absorber in there, and that's going to last years and years and years. And there's plenty of room around your house or around your apartment where you can store this stuff. Corner of a closet works just fine. How many of you use the entire area within your closet to put clothes and shoes in? If you do, then you might have a problem. But what I'm getting at is that there's always room somewhere All you have to do is look and be motivated to want to take care of yourself and your family should something happen. The third form of food, of course, is this. This is under my bed. I have a queen-sized bed, and under that queen-sized bed, I have canned meats, I have extra virgin olive oil, I have coconut oil put under there, and I've got a year's worth of sustenance in the form of freeze-dried foods. These freeze-dried foods that you see right here are my break glass in case of emergency because they last so long and there is so much variety. So under your queen size bed, you can decide to put long-term food storage in the form of bulk foods like rice, beans, sugar, oils, or you can also decide to put it away in the form that you see here in freeze-dried foods that will last at least 25 years, if not more. I believe that freeze-dried foods, when properly stored, like right there under my bed, it keeps a nice cool temperature throughout the year, and the freeze-dried foods are only labeled to last like 25 years. But there's been people that have eaten freeze-dried foods that were 40 plus years old. And I myself actually posted a video a year or two ago where I opened up a can of Noah's Ark dehydrated food. It wasn't even freeze-dried. It was dehydrated food that was canned in a number 10 can. It was one of the old and first food companies for emergency storage. And I actually got myself a hold of a couple of cans and I opened them both and they were both still good after 46 years. So I believe that freeze-dried foods nowadays, especially with the technology that they have and the packaging that they do, will last in excess of 25, 30, even upwards of 40 or more years, as long as they are properly stored. Now, ladies and gentlemen, getting towards the end of the video, I just want to tell you all that it is 100% up to you whether you are able to feed your family and yourself in any kind of a crisis. You don't have to be a prepper. You just have to be prepared. You don't have to tell anyone that you're doing it. I would actually recommend that you don't, but do it because your family relies on you. Please don't be one of those people that I've encountered in the past that say, all I'm buying for whenever there's a food shortage crisis or things get really bad is going to be a firearm and freedom seeds because I'll just go take it from someone else. I don't believe that society, especially here in the United States, is going to get so bad where people out of desperation are going to be using their firearms to confiscate other people's food. I think it's going to get bad enough to where you're going to have just barely what you need to survive if you did not have the foresight to prepare. So prepare now. At the very minimum, save yourself some money by preparing now because the cost of foods and everything else is going to exponentially increase over the next several years. But in the next 6 months, it's going to start going up a lot faster than what we're seeing it now. Having said that, I probably made this video so long. We're going to take a quick look at the silver and the gold market, and then we'll sign off. And it looks like the silver market has taken quite a hit today. It has gone down by $4. We're still range bound between that 81, 82 level all the way down to about that, what is it, 71? Right here, 71 level or so. So as long as we're range bound, we'll be going sideways. But to me, what that means is that this bear flag right here that's forming has more of a possibility of going to the downside. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what, give Alpha Omega Gold a call so you can start a conversation with them. They are the sponsor of this channel, but at least start your conversation with them. That way, when silver goes down, which is what I think, I'm not a financial advisor, when it goes down to meet this 200-day moving average, or I think it's going to go a little bit lower than that, that you'll be ready to pull the trigger and get your silver on the cheap instead of paying the prices that we have now. Because I believe that it is still going to go down. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, this is what I believe about silver really quick. I know I'm making this really long. I think some people ask me, should I get it now? Should I wait? And my first question is, do you have any? Do you have any silver? Do you have a base? If you don't have a base, I'll tell you what, this is what I told my lawyer. All right, because we actually became friends. He is now a prepper and an owner of silver. All right. He said, when should I get it? I'm like, do you have a base? Do you have any? He said, no. I said, you should get some right now. No matter what the price is, get some now, build a base. And he asked me, well, how much should I get? Now, this is what I told him. Remember, he's a lawyer, so he makes pretty good money. All right, he said, how much should I get? I said, how many kids do you have? He said 3. I said, get 3 monster boxes. Now, you can change that number to a number that suits you. But I said, that's 1 monster box for each of your kid, because when you get gold or silver, it's for wealth preservation, and it should be something that you want to preserve your wealth in. And what do parents want to do when they pass on? They want to leave their wealth to their children. So he said, okay, when I get back home, I'm going to go ahead and order me 3 monster boxes. Isn't that nice, ladies and gentlemen, to just be able to order 3 monster boxes? However, if you already have a base, if you have that amount that you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to leave my kids, or okay, this is for the end of the world, right? If you already have that amount, then go ahead and dollar cost average in on the dips. All right, dollar cost average in on the dips. I'm not a financial advisor, so do what you want after you do your research. But if you call Alpha Omega Gold, they'll be able to get with you and talk with you, start a conversation, tell you all about their program, tell you all about what they do, and then you can compare them to other vendors and decide who you want to go with. It's as easy as that. But I still believe that silver is going to go down to about 50, or at a minimum, at a very minimum, $61. But it has to revisit the scene of the crime, which was right around the $49, $50 level. Now let's talk about gold real quick. Gold has taken a bit of a hit as well, not as much as silver. Gold has gone down by, what is it, $152 for the day, a whopping 3%, opposed to what silver's gone down 5%. And same thing with gold. I think the worst case scenario with gold would be about 4,100 or so. But if it comes down and breaks that 200-day moving average, it's going to go all the way down to the next support area of about 3,500 or so. And same thing with gold. You have to remember, why do you get gold and silver? You get it so that it can protect your wealth long term, not so that you can hope to make a few dollars on it and then cash it in 6 months later. That's not how it works. The dollar system is way too manipulated for that. And let me tell you what about the dollar. The dollar is going to inflate like it's never inflated before, because they don't have a choice. Have a great rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in today. I really do appreciate every one of you. If you want to support what I do, just use the links that I provide in the description of my videos. None of those links cost you 1 penny more to use if you decide to use them. However, I do get a little bit of a commission from them, which really helps me out. So God bless every single one of you. I love you all. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.